It's not often that I've played any games that got progressively worse and worse the more I've played them, but in today's case, it's literally the most blatant example of something like that. Now, a very long time ago, I made a series of videos on the then upcoming third installment to a beloved franchise, Payday 3. The first video where I essentially talked about my excitement for the title after enjoying the open beta quite a lot, and the second one where I realized that I was an idiot. Now, I do want to thank everybody for the monumental amount of support those videos got, and in keeping up with milking this game for my own monetary gain, I hereby bring you what I'd hope to be my very last video on this topic, because as of right now, it seems that this game is on its last legs, so let's do a little bit of a rundown to how we got to this point. Now, all the way back on the 1st of January 2023, we've got our first official reveal for Payday 3, the next installment in a franchise that hasn't seen a new game in the past 10 years. Yeah, that's right, Payday 2 released all the way back in 2013, if you can believe it. Feel old yet? I don't, because I never played this. But obviously fans who played the previous games were through the roof with excitement. I mean, who wouldn't be? Game franchises like this that didn't get a brand new entry in the past decade would unquestionably be a welcome return for fans who were just left wanting more. And for those people, I can at least say, at the time, I was extremely happy for them. Me being a person who has a laundry list of games that I wish got sequels can only cry from envy. But as time marched forward and we got even more trailers showing off the game, is it safe to say that skepticism for people who were initially looking forward to this release was starting to rise, with every gameplay trailer releasing just practically showing us a by-the-books first-person shooter with graphics that wouldn't be able to pass for an early PS4 or Xbox One launch title, despite us already being well into the 9th generation of video game consoles at this point. This wasn't really looking all too hot. Now, as for me, where was I when all this hype for Payday 3 was simultaneously rising and falling? I was pretty much in my bubble of not caring. Yeah, I was happy for fans who got a new game in this franchise, but I myself have at the time never touched a single one of these games. My only exposure to this franchise was through watching retrospective videos on them, seeing them used in memes, and hearing some of the awesome soundtracks. But for me personally, I didn't really have any hype going into this game. The only thing on me and my friends' minds at the time when looking into this game is that we thought it'd be a fun little time waster that we didn't need to spend a single penny on, and that was pretty much it. Now, jumping a little forward in time here, on the 8th to the 11th of September 2023, Payday 3 got an open beta for people to play, just so we can get our feet wet with the product and potentially give feedback to the developers of anything needed fixing. And I was one of those people who actually did play the beta, and if you remember from my initial video, I actually had a lot of fun with it. Aside from things like performance issues, the gameplay not being all too special, and the graphics making me think someone ripped the biggest ass that this place looks so polluted, I actually genuinely had a lot of fun. But now we finally move over to September 18th, and the game finally got released onto the world. And let's just say, the cracks immediately started to form when people started playing it. But first, let me give you a little recap of the game. So in Payday 3, you take on a series of missions along with 3 other friends to get as much cash as possible when you make your escape. You have 2 primary ways you can engage with these missions, either being a solid snake or a big boss. And once you pick the right option, you'll need to deal with the guards of the place, to the police, to the SWAT, and even these Left 4 Dead style special enemies who are gonna try to make your totally ethical financial gain a pain in the nuts. And once completing the mission by escaping via whatever getaway vehicle seems the most convenient for the stage, you get to see the amount of money you stole, see your epic gamer level go up, and then wonder what mischievous deeds you can cause on the next mission. And that's pretty much it. Thanks for 40 bucks. Yeah, the only amount of variety that you're gonna be getting in this game, in terms of its actual gameplay, is just how you choose to approach each mission, and the weapons and gear you decide to take with you, and pretty much nothing else. So let's get into what I thought about the game. You see, the game on launch was only broken up into 8 separate missions, 7 of which I was only able to access because for some reason I was unable to join the final one no matter how long I waited. These missions, as you can expect, contained a few banks, a jewelry store, a bridge where you needed to steal some shit from a truck, a nightclub which is still undoubtedly the best level in the entire game, a museum where you needed to steal a painting, and finally a shipyard where you had to go through an entire song and dance much like the bridge level. And if you know what you're doing, most if not all the stages could be completed in about 5 to 10 minutes. Which if you add the total playtime all together, that would mean that you could see almost every single thing that this game has to offer in around 40 to 80 minutes. Yippee! That is definitely worth $40, am I right? Now I understand the drive of a game like this is to keep replaying the same stages over and over again, with a new team, new gear and all kind of stuff like that. But if the base gameplay experience is so dull to begin with, then what exactly is in here that keeps you coming back? At most, each mission really has the potential to be played twice, either the good way or the stealth way. And in order to unlock some more gear like weapons, you need to do an unreasonable amount of grinding just to get some of them. So would you want to go into these missions with just the stock assault rifle that gets the job done no problem, or do you want to go into a mission with a slightly different assault rifle that you spend 50 hours grinding for, only for it to do the exact same thing of killing people? No thanks. But now let's talk about the other problem that the game has. Graphics look like shit. I think I already drove that point home, but from the time that the beta release to the official 1.0 release, nothing was really fixed. The game still ran like shit, you could still glitch through NPCs and teammates and see their inside, which makes me think someone at the dev team is really into vor. And if you were to play the game alone, a point I want to emphasize a little bit later on, the AI teammates are useless. And not just them, the actual police force and special enemies are a bunch of morons too. So when it comes to your partners, you're just gonna need to do everything yourself, which makes missions take ages to beat. And when it comes to the enemies, they're just mindless drones waiting to get mowed down because they lack the basic skill of self-preservation. And when it comes to the more beefier ones, they are just bullet sponges that can soak up a ton of damage, so it just becomes tedious to fight them. And all in all, the game is just boring. The missions aren't interesting, the gameplay doesn't really do anything to stand out from anything else aside from a few bells and whistles. It's just so dull and repetitive. I can't understand how the hell people thought that this was acceptable to ship. But that doesn't even begin to scratch the surface of the controversy that was growing for this game. Because you see, when the game officially launched, the game was plagued by a shit ton of server issues. People just had to sit and wait in these boring ass lobbies just so that they were able to get a match going either with randoms or even with their own friends that were in the same region as them. So the problem even gets emphasized if you decided to buy the game on something like Steam. You know, maybe just trying to spend a good night with the boys, having a laugh and stuff like that. You would be stuck in these fucking lobbies to the point where you wouldn't even be eligible for a refund anymore. And coupling that issue with something I alluded to earlier in this video, there wasn't even a single player option added to this game. Yeah, that's right. Even if you just wanted to play the game solo, for whatever reason, you're just not able to do that. And that might honestly explain why the bot AI we do have access to is so incompetent. Because I'm pretty sure that these bots were just coded to be placeholders until an actual player came in to take their place. Now for me personally, I never really had any issues with the servers. I did have issues getting people into my lobbies though, but by the time that all that got sorted out, everything launched and started without a hitch. But moving that to one side, how the hell was I able to get into lobbies with bots? Obviously, this game does have a single-player component to it in some degree, but in order to access it, you have to have some stroke of luck and still need to be online in order to do so. So why? And with all of these issues I just mentioned, it goes without saying, fans were pissed. People went online to voice their frustrations. YouTube video after YouTube video talking about how terrible the game is, and news articles about its disastrous launch swept the internet, and it even saw a spike in the player base again for Payday 2, the game that a lot of people would still say to this day is the best in the series. And that finally brings us to today. The day that I'm writing the script is on the 4th of April 2024. The game has been out for some time now, and it's completely slipped my mind for the most part. I think I said everything that I needed to in my last video. But all of that changed when my best buddy The Beak sent me this one link. You're seeing this right, folks. Payday 3's player base has dropped to such an extent that there are currently only 181 people playing it on Steam. That is an insane drop-off in players, and this being a large AAA game with a ton of budget and marketing put into it, being obliterated by games like Palworld, Lethal Company, Helldivers 2, and even now the newly released content warning, this is just embarrassing. I think it's safe to say that this long-awaited sequel is officially dead. But I decided that that's not where I was going to leave this topic. Oh no, for as you can see, I'm what some people would call a moron. So what I wanted to do is to see how badly this game went to shit and what actually changed since I finished my last video on it all that time ago. But things certainly have changed since then, so allow me to fill you in on what's happened since then. I turned 25 years old, I started going bald, and the most integral thing I've done to help my channel out, I made terrible spending decisions. Yes, within that time, I decided to go out and buy me a Series S and a fat VCR. I did this primarily because I don't really like playing games on my PC, and this just takes so much strain off of it and makes me feel more at ease when I'm streaming and recording videos. So, I would just like to give a massive thank you to everybody. I say this because without everyone's support watching these videos, it's mainly thanks to you guys that I'm able to invest into stuff like this so I can keep making content for everybody. So do yourselves all a favor and pat yourselves on the back. You've earned it. I would do that myself, but that would mean I know where you live. And of course, since this is a next-gen system, what better place to revisit this game on and maybe get a fresh new perspective on what's different? The graphics still look like shit, you can still partake in VOR, but at the very least I can say that the game runs at a consistent 60 FPS, so it's got the PC beat by 1 point. But out of my entire 2 hours I spent playing this game, nothing changed. Missions are exactly the same as they were at launch, AI enemies are still a bunch of buffoons, and since the player base is smaller than the population of a small village, I was stuck with bots for the entirety of my revisit. The entire game is exactly the same. No changes to my knowledge or that I cared about to even look into, no fixes to pre-existing problems, no nothing. Fuck sakes, I wasn't even still able to play the final mission, so I have no idea what Jeff Bridges over here wants me to do for him. So it's still the same $40 game it was on launch, but now specifically in my case, I got to play it again on an overpriced Bluetooth speaker. Now I will admit though, I am spreading a slight little bit of misinformation here, because ever since the game released, there were some things added to the game. 2 legacy missions, and 1 DLC mission, and you can bet your ass I'm not gonna be spending a single dime on this game. Fuck that. But I did, however, check out the 2 legacy missions, and yeah, they both suck. I was so bored out of my fucking mind when going back through all these base game missions again that by the time I decided to play the new legacy missions, when I got to the briefing screen and hearing that the guy talking to us was a proper South African and even said the word cockspol, which if Duolingo didn't teach you enough, it literally means a shit ton, I didn't even crack a smile. This game will literally do that to you. It will make you hate your own people. And the missions themselves are nothing too special. One of them you're infiltrating a train yard to do something. I don't know. I didn't finish it. Because you want to know why? You get spotted. Bye-bye. Start again, idiot. And the last mission had so much potential, but it got royally screwed over because no one else is playing this game. You see, in this mission, you're essentially breaking into the Baker household from Resident Evil 7 to steal meth. But uh-oh, police brutality prevailed again because the cook got smoked, meaning that you need to make the meth yourself. So you need to gather all the ingredients around the house and mix them in the right order, otherwise you're going to join the cook. But this shit is scattered all throughout the house, and you can only carry one of each of the 3 ingredients, meaning that if you were like me and you played with AI bots that can't even count higher than Gabe Newell, this just turns into a tedious back and forth to do a simple objective. And to add to this mess, the cops can turn off the lab, which adds an extra point to my piss-off scale. This game, man, how did you go from a fun heist game in 2011 to the biggest and most beloved game in your franchise to this? Well, I don't know. I do believe that I did see an article talking about this game either A, being rushed, and B, the dev studio was working on the crunch time, but I can't find that article anymore. So take that information with a grain of salt. But judging with how the game turned out, it would seem to me that that might be the case. But what I do know is that you should not even come anywhere near this game or put any of your time or your money into it. And since a majority of the player base is left, I think it's safe to say that Payday 3 is officially dead. So with all of that out of the way, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you guys liked the video, please consider liking and subscribing. Maybe if you want to help support the channel and fuel my need to partake in terrible spending habits, maybe consider joining the Patreon or becoming a channel member. And speaking of Patreon, special thanks to Patreon member Mr. Aftonboy. And yeah, as far as I'm concerned, this is a little bit of an unscripted section of the video. I think I might be done with Payday 3 for the time being, because I really think I may have said everything and experienced everything I needed to. But if anything does tend to happen that comes to my knowledge again, I'll be more than happy to revisit this. But there are other games that we need to take a look at. And who knows? Maybe I'll finally be able to take a look at the prior 2 games in this franchise. Only time will tell, I guess. But with all of that out of the way, thank you guys so much for watching. My name is John from the channel with the freakishly long name, and I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye. Love you.